Okay, well, what do you say? We get into this, the review of the brand new precons. It's exciting.
Yeah, great. So if you like what you're watching, please hit the subscribe button and let's get started with the Saheeli the Gifted deck.
Yeah, that's right. Here we are doing Saheeli the Gifted, 2018 Commander Precon. Let's start off with Saheeli herself, I guess, right? Let's take a look at the legends in this.
Yeah, we'll take a
The
look at the
commanders, I
three
suppose.
the three commanders that are sort of meant to be the main focus of it. So first we got Saheeli the Gifted. This is a planeswalker that can be used as your commander. 2 red, blue, 4 loyalty to start, and you can +1 create a colorless 1/1 servo artifact creature token. Cool. You can +1 alternately to say the next spell you cast this turn cost 1 less to cast for each artifact you control. That's pretty big.
Yeah,
You get
it's
one
giving
artifact
something
for
affinity.
yeah, and if you're casting another artifact, it's probably free.
Yeah.
And then -7 for each artifact you control, create a token that's a copy of it. Those tokens gain haste. Exile them at the beginning of the next end step. I haven't done the math, but I'm sure that can be used to enable some dirty combos, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, definitely. It's funny that it's also Healy's minus ability, right? But it's to
Right.
everything, right?
Yes, all your artifacts.
So it has to be an
Whereas
ultimate. They learned from breaking one planeswalker that let's make at least before you want to break it, let's at least make it the ultimate on this one, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Which is good. I think that's cool. This to me looks like a great start for this deck. This is a great this is exciting. This is a good commander. When we're talking about, of course, the commanders coming back as, the planeswalkers coming back as commanders, there's a lot of mixed reactions on that. Some people like it. Some people are not up for it. I think it's like a fun space to work in, so I think it's okay, personally. I don't know about making all, I think I like the idea of keeping all planeswalkers out of that. I think that's fine. But having one, a couple, every few years, I think that's fine.
Yeah, totally fine.
Yeah, totally fine. So yeah, what do we think of Saheeli?
I think it's cool. I'm most excited about the obviously like the second +1 where you give a next artifact affinity. I would be very excited to
Next spell affinity.
Next spell.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Next spell. It could be anything. In my mind, I'm like using it to like ramp out a Gilded Lotus for free, and then using it to cast something else the hard way. But
sure.
Yeah, you can really get away with some nasty stuff with that.
It's the double plus that's also very good, right? Like you're not minusing her until you get that artifact, or until you get that ultimate, rather.
Yeah. Oh man, X spells.
Yeah, so this is real good.
Real good.
I think Saheeli is a great card and exciting commander, and that's what you want out of the marquee commanders from these decks. The ones that they're sort of following completely. So Saheeli, so far so good. Looks great from this deck, which is called what again? Exquisite Invention.
Right.
Okay. Great. All right, great. So let's move on to the next one here. This one is Brewdiclad, or it's got to be Brewdiclad, right?
It's got to be
Brewdiclad. Telcor Engineer, 4 blue, red for the legendary artifact creature, who is also an artificer. 4/4 creature tokens you control have haste, powerful ability for sure. And at the beginning of combat on your turn, create a 2/1 blue mirror artifact creature token. When then you may choose a token you control, and if you do, each other token you control becomes a copy of that token. Whoa. That is, I love that this ability. You would think, you might think first of all that's like, this feels more like a white green card perhaps because of tokens.
Right, token.
But obviously the copying is where we're seeing the blue come in, and I love that it's in blue because you can you don't have to build this around artifacts at all. Let's just put that right out there. You can build like a tokeny clone kind of deck. Like there's tons of cards that do that in blue. Make tokens that are copies of things, and then make all the tokens a copy of one crazy you got Brutaclad spitting out these 2/1s and then making them copies of some other good creature on the board. Like that sounds very
That's
fun.
what I want to do.
That's what I want to do. Yeah, totally.
That's the whole point of this deck. It does, and they all have haste too, so they're coming at you. Ooh, that's fun. That's fun to brew around.
Yeah, I think so too. I like this card a ton. 6 mana is obviously getting high when it comes to commanders, but I think for this powerful effect, I think that's pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like this guy a ton, and it does not have to be in artifact decks. Although, it also is a decent, like if you wanted to skew towards artifacts, obviously this would work fine as well.
Sure. I mean, the artifacts will probably be the portion of that helps assist make nothing tokens that you're going to copy into the big important tokens.
Yeah, and put a bunch of treasures out there and have them turn into,
Oh, that's right, treasures and clues.
Treasures and clues for sure. Turning it, and then you I guess you couldn't use Spitting Image in this deck, but you could use something like the 3-bet. What's the one? There's an instant from Innistrad where you make a copy of your own creature. Anyways, it's like laughing little demon guys on it. Anyways, you make a copy of your own big creature and then have them all turn into that, which would be awesome.
Cool.
Okay, cool. I'll look that card up while Sean talks about this next one.
Next, someone who's been mentioned on a lot of cards, including a coffin, gets his own card, Tonos, Urza's Apprentice. So this is blue-red for a 1/3 legendary human artificer. It has haste and blue-red tap. Copy target activated or triggered ability you control from an artifact source. You may choose new targets for the copy. Mana abilities can't be targeted. So, yeah, you get to copy any artifact ability, triggered or activated. So when artifacts enter the battlefield and something happens, that's cool. As long as it's the artifact doing the business. I don't know what ones I want to copy off the bat, but like some artifacts have some very cool abilities, and Tonos would probably want to tap them. I'm not like an artifact player by nature. Like I don't have a lot of artifacts in my brain that I want to copy the effects of. I mostly just use things like, those bracers or whatever, just to already copy an ability. So like I'm not thinking of what's uniquely artifact abilities I want to copy.
Yeah, illusionist bracers.
Yeah, if I had a Helm of the Host equipped, I would copy that triggered ability to make a double, but
certainly. You also have this is also like kind of a Rings of Brighthearth for artifacts, which is good. Less abusable in that you must tap Tonos. By the way, the card I was thinking of is Cackling Counterpart.
Thank you.
There you go.
Actually, I wouldn't mind copying the activated ability off of Mindslaver and taking 2 different people's next turns.
I mean, like this,
or the same person's two next turns.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Like that sucks. Like so, I think like it's very like anytime this thing happens where you can copy activated or triggered abilities, it just means that it's going to be very easy to break certain things, right? It's going to be easy to totally abuse, and that's what Commander's all about. So I love Tonos. I definitely want to build a artifact triggered and activated ability deck, even just activated, and then just use like Onaki. What's that one? That one Onaki guy. That one red dude who copies. He got reprinted in this, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Anyways, very fun commander. Love this. I so far they're 3 for 3 on these commanders so far out of this artifact deck. Loving it.
Cool.
Very much.
So the next thing we're going to talk about are all the new unique cards. Well, not necessarily unique. Some of the decks get copies of them, but here's the cards that were never before printed. These are the brand new cards that this set gives us.
This is the real meat. This is what we're here for. Truly, reprints are nice. As we may or may not see, but this is what we're here for. This is the meat of the sandwich. So let's talk about our first one here, Ancient Stone Idol. And by the way, if any of these cards, so Saheeli's our first one, so if any of these cards also appear in the other decks will point you to this one, and yeah, there you go. Just letting you know. Okay, so the first one here we have is Ancient Stone Idol, which is a 10 mana artifact creature golem. It's a 12/12 and it has flash. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each attacking creature. And then it also has trample. And when Ancient Stone Idol dies, create a 6/12 colorless construct artifact creature token with trample. So even if you manage to kill this thing off on the turn, 5 or 6 when you get to play it because you ramped out a bunch of tokens and attacked with them, you still get a huge monster still. You still get a 6/12.
At first, I was upset that it gets cheaper for each attacking creature because I was like, oh, I guess it can't join your team of attackers. I was thinking about it as offense.
Right.
But it is for sure a defensive creature.
Oh,
Where, like, if people are coming, even if they're not attacking you, you can still just cast it cheap.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. That's the thing. And anyone else can also have ramped out a board of tokens, and you can make this guy for really cheap. Good point.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. This is a neat card. It's I love big, like, huge, massive things that like have a very specific way to reduce their cost. So I like Ancient Stone Idol a lot. This is
Me too.
This is really great.
Colorless, goes in any deck if you want it.
Yep. What's next?
Next is another artifact, Coveted Jewel. This is a 6 mana artifact. It says when it enters the battlefield, draw 3 cards, tap, add 3 mana of any one color. So it's like a 1 more Gilded Lotus for 1 more mana, but you get to draw 3 cards. Interesting. However, whenever 1 or more creatures an opponent controls attacks you and aren't blocked, that player draws 3 cards and gains control of Coveted Jewel. Untap it. Very interesting. I've always got my eyes on cards that incentivize attacking because I like to build decks that I want people to try to attack, and then I do tricks and things. So I like it. It's a hefty price though.
Yeah, that's the 6 mana. I mean, you get 3 cards out of it, which is sweet. And it's when it enters the battlefield. So if you can flicker artifacts, this could just be a crazy draw engine for you.
Yeah, I mean, I like it because. So, would you run it in a red or white deck that has a hard time drawing cards?
Whenever 1 or more creatures an opponent controls attack you and aren't blocked, that player draws 3 cards and gains control of it. Yeah, it's risky.
So that works vice versa, right? Like you can get it back by doing the same thing.
Yes. Yeah. Would I? I might. Yes.
I think in a red deck, you probably have so many ways of getting rid of your own artifacts that it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Like you can just cast it, get the mana, and then sacrifice it if it becomes risk of stealing.
Yeah.
A lot of commander decks have inherently unblockable things, so I feel like a lot of decks will be very well equipped just to take it from you without any effort. But in a white-red deck, I expect to have a lot of defense in creature form, so attacking regularly doesn't seem likely to grab it.
It's definitely something I'm interested to like play around with, and I think I wouldn't include it if I didn't, like you're saying, have a way to either sacrifice it and bring it back or blink it or something like that, right?
I mean, it's a cheap way to get 3 more cards. Like, if someone does take it, you're like, cool, I'm going to take it back from you and draw 3 more cards.
If you have a way to make your guys unblockable /
presumably in your deck you can attack pretty good.
Hopefully, yeah. And that's also a little bit of setup, although it's not setup that the decks just aren't paying already, right? Like, you're probably including some of those types of things anyways.
I mean, a Dreamstone Hedron is a 6 mana that creates 3 colorless, and you can sack it and draw 3 cards by paying mana later. So, like this, you kind of get the front end of the cards.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't
mind it.
No, I don't mind it either. I think you are going to want those ways to take advantage of it as opposed to just letting someone have it and drawing 3 cards.
Yeah.
That's not the end of the world, like Sean's saying. Like, I think you can make that work for you, but I think I'd like to build in stuff that makes it so that I can really abuse it, though.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a look at the next one here. Our first blue card. First color card for the Saheeli, the Exquisite Invention deck here.
It is part of a cycle.
Yeah, it is. It's part of the new cycle that we're seeing in this precon. It's called Echo Storm, and the name, the word storm in there is no mistake. Echo Storm is 3 blue for a sorcery that does not have storm, but it sure does have something that's similar to it. When you cast this spell, copy it for each time you've cast your commander from the command zone this game. You may choose new targets for the copies and then create a token that's a copy of target artifact. So that's what the spell does. The spell creates a token that's a copy of target artifact for 5 mana, and then you will copy this spell each time you've cast your commander this game. So, what's the average case scenario on a card like this? You're probably looking at 1 to 2 copies in addition to the one you have already, probably, right? Depending on your commander.
I can't imagine I'm going to cast this 5 mana spell to copy an artifact before I've cast my commander even once.
Yeah, no. I mean, in a pinch, you could and still probably get something decent, but you're definitely waiting for that commander cast first. So you can get at least 2. Hopefully, maybe you can even get 3 off of a card like Echo Storm. So this is cool. Yeah. I like this. I like playing with this, this multiplier, basically, that casting your commander from the command zone gives you.
Yeah.
I think that's really, really great. Like, this is the kind of messing with command zone stuff that I don't mind at all. Don't make stuff cheap. Like, making stuff cheaper is risky move. Making me just be able to, flash in a thing from command zone without paying its cost. Like, obviously Derivi, arguably a big mistake. I'm not a big fan of Eminence, but this I think is fantastic. This is perfect.
Yeah, this is great. And who wouldn't want a couple of gilded lotuses? Gilded loti.
Gilded loti. Get them while they're hot. Yeah. So Echo Storm, and we'll get to obviously the other ones as well. But this one so far, passing grade, looks great.
I like it.
Yeah.
We've got an artifact, Endless Atlas, 2 generic for an artifact, and has 1 activated ability, 2 tap, draw a card. Activate this only if you control 3 or more lands with the same name. And so lands, basically the only way you're going to get that in Commander is for basics.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to have, unless you've copied your lands somehow or stolen other people's lands. But outside shenanigans, it's going to be basics. So naturally, to have 3 or more lands with the same name, you want this in a 1 or 2 color deck. Max 2, even as a 2, it might be a while before you have 3 of the same name. Nonetheless, 2 mana draw card is fantastic for decks that need it, like mono red, mono white, or Boros decks. I think this is an auto include in those, and it has no place in this deck whatsoever, but I'm happy to have it.
Yeah, this has no place in a blue deck, really, ever.
No, it does not.
2 tap, draw 1 card a turn, plus with this thing of you needing 3 lands, is there's way easier ways to do that. Yeah. In fact, I kind of think in general, I think there's a artifact that did by the way, Kirkesh Onaki Ancient did not get printed in this deck. We're going to talk about the reprints in a bit, but
yeah.
One that I know did get printed in the lands deck is the one that has landfall, and you pay 2 whenever a land comes in and draw a card.
Yes.
It's arguably better than this because you can actually get more than 1 card a turn off of it, and obviously you can untap. There are ways to untap artifacts, but I'm just talking about as it's printed, what you actually see. So I'm not actually I think you're right. Mono red, mono white are gonna love this card.
Ooh, love this card in those decks.
But I'm not.
Love it.
I'm not wild about it though.
Yeah, it's very deck specific. I think the decks that want it really want it, and no one else cares about it at all.
Yeah.
Cool. What's next?
Next is Geode Golem. 5 mana for an artifact creature, Golem. It's a 5/3, has trample. And it says, whenever Geode Golem deals combat damage to a player, you may cast your commander from the command zone without paying its mana cost.
Wow.
What?
That's great. What? But it's okay. So
now, yes,
fantastic ability.
Yeah. Okay.
Fantastic ability.
Yeah. There is a little part of that I didn't read yet. Also, in brackets, it still says you still pay any additional costs.
Like commander tax.
Like the commander tax, exactly. But I mean, still, no problem.
Yeah, right? I mean, a lot like yeah. So what are the drawbacks here, right? You have to hit a player.
You have to hit a player.
Trample,
it does have
so
trample.
They can't chump.
Yeah.
It's got 5 power, so that'll get through a lot of things. It's an artifact and a creature, so it's one of the most vulnerable things on the battlefield.
Certainly, yeah. Open and removal,
everything
but also
kills it.
Pretty easy to recur if you're in.
Yeah.
If you're some if you want to do that. So like that.
So
go ahead.
I'm thinking I want, like, it's easy to recur, and I want a way to give it haste. That's key to me.
Yeah.
I don't want this on the battlefield so my opponents can think about it, because I guarantee no one's gonna let a geode golem through. They're gonna make plans for it. But if I can get it in there and give it haste so people can't plan for it, I might have a shot.
You know what's interesting is I think that the text on this is scary. Well, certainly scary for a commander that costs a lot. But let's just say, for argument's sake, for a second, how badly do you want to block this thing and not let any of the damage through? Pretty badly, right? You don't want to let someone get their commander. So let's say I have a 4-mana commander.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got Duretti. I've got the artifact Planeswalker. So 4 mana. How much is Saheeli? Is she 4 too?
Saheeli was
4. Yeah, let's say it's Saheeli.
4.
Whatever, it doesn't matter. 4. How less scary is it if Geode Golem's text was, when it hits, it makes 4 mana of any color?
How much more scary would it be? Well,
how much less scary is that? You know what I mean? Like, because this is a very relative card, right? Like if we're playing this with like, I don't know, like some 7-mana commander, like that's serious. And if it said make 7 mana of any color, you'd be like, still, no way. I'm not gonna let you do that. No way.
Yeah.
But if it's like make 4 mana, you might be like, I gotta throw like 2 creatures in front of this that I don't really want to die. It's like, fine, you can have 4 mana. Like I feel like that's what I would do a lot of the time. It's like, what are you gonna do with 4 mana? Who cares? Turns out quite a bit. Cast your commander, while also still paying additional costs. So it's like
interesting.
It's isn't that like a kind of a weird way to look at it? It's kind of interesting, right?
That's a very accurate way to look at it. Like, how much mana are they getting for this? I would want to look at their board. How much mana do they have open? Are they planning on casting their commander for quote unquote free and then following it up with a big spell? And this is going to be so like, it's telegraphed, right? Like if your commander is expensive and has a lot of fantastic interactions with other spells and they run a geode golem, they're telling you, I really want to get my commander out for free so I can do shenanigans. Therefore, block geode golem. And the people who are running Risk the Redeemed, whose commander costs 1 anyway, don't give a crap about geode golem, so let it in all day. They won't even run it. Yeah. I feel this is a case where if you're running geode golem, you know they're doing bonkers stuff with it, so you gotta kill it right away.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think this does go in a lot of commander decks that, I don't know, I guess like 4 or more seems like fine. Anything under that, you're probably not even worth it.
I have a feeling this won't make the cut for most decks.
Yeah, I think you're right.
It's just too much work.
I think you're right, while still thinking that this card can be pretty good.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
But yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, like maybe even 4 mana is not enough. Like maybe it's, if your commander costs 6 or more, maybe that's when you consider running this guy.
I just don't know why you're running this over another spell that synergizes better. Or like a big mana rock or something like that. That's
true. I mean, there's a lot of setup there, right?
There's so much setup.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. There you go. So kind of a mild to lowish feeling on Geode Golem, even though it looks flashier than it is. I think that's the thing.
Yeah, I think so.
But still, I think a well designed card though. I actually still like. I don't
yes.
like. I think it's actually Looks
I
good.
do.
All right, what's next here?
So next is our first loyal card. The loyal cycle of cards brings back the lieutenant mechanic. So if you have one of these loyal creatures and your commander on the battlefield, something cool happens. So loyal apprentice is 1 red for a 2/1 with haste. Lieutenant, at the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control your commander, create a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying. That token gains haste until end of turn. So it's the beginning of your combat, so it is eligible to attack before your declare attacker's phase. I mean, anything that just gives you free tokens as time in the game goes on, I'm a fan of that.
Yep. Yeah, Loyal Apprentice. I'll take one. Thank you. Pretty small effect, but still one that a lot of decks are going to care about. And I don't know. I think it's half decent.
Yeah, I mean, Locust God scoffs at it, but I still like it.
Yeah. Next we have Loyal Drake. So this is the other lieutenant, the blue one. 2 and a blue flyer, 2/2. So right now it's a 3 mana 2/2 flyer, and it says at the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control your commander, draw a card.
I like that.
I mean, this little guy's pretty vulnerable, but like you're not really attacking with him.
Yeah, you're not really attacking with him, and it's one of those things where it's like, man, do I spend removal on it? Do I need to deal with this now? I don't know.
I mean, it's just accruing value. Otherwise, I mean, I think you do, right? Like,
yeah, but I mean, this waste. Anyway, I love these cards where
No,
it
I
makes
know.
your opponents make tricky decisions.
so good. You know, a blocker in the air if you should need it at some point too. Loyal
Yeah.
Drake,
Yeah,
decent little card, and nothing overly powerful here, but something that certainly the budget players are going to be well into.
I am a fan.
Yeah. All right. What's next?
Oh, Retrofitter Foundry. It's a 1 mana artifact, and it's sort of like that. There's another artifact that has a million abilities on it.
Trading
and-
post?
No, it's an artifact, and it's very expensive, so we never really talk about it. Because it's infinite, it goes infinite. Because here it has 3 abilities, and the first ability is 3 generic untap Retrofitter Foundry. So with infinite mana, you can untap it infinite times and do any of these effects infinite times. So here are the other ones. 2 tap, create a 1/1 colorless servo artifact creature token. 1 tap, sacrifice a servo, create a colorless Thopter token with flying, or just plain tap, sacrifice a Thopter, create a 4/4 colorless construct. So you get to move up the chain with it. Like you get to, on flavor, it makes a little servo first, and then it sacks the servo to make a Thopter, and then it sacks the Thopter to make a big
Construct.
ground thing. Yeah. So if you were to just the cycle as it is, assuming you want to get it done in 1 turn and you're not going to wait for your natural untap turns, it costs you 2, 5, 6, 9. It costs you 9 mana to make that construct. If you just do it the hard way. But again, this is going to be in any deck where you have some sort of like, you know, if Brutaclad gives all your tokens haste and you can somehow develop infinite mana, which is possible in artifact decks millions of different ways, you can just make infinite 4/4 constructs, and then they all have haste, and then you just attack for the big swing.
Yeah, I mean, not that we needed anything else to interact with infinite mana, but I like this card because of everything. The flavor is really fun on it. Like it takes, like, you know, it's this little, it's a foundry. It's a little like factory that takes servos, turns them into Thopters, turns them into this. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's really cool, and there's so many cards in this I want for that Brea Hellkite Tyrant deck.
Yeah, right, because you've already got the Thopter.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
You can just, it doesn't cost anything to turn a Thopter into a construct. So that's a pretty neat effect.
And so for 3 mana, you can turn 2 of them in 1 turn into it. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, if you're making Thopters another way, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, not bad, not bad. I like this guy.
Me too.
Next, Saheeli's Directive. As a sorcery, it's X and 3 red, so X, red, red, red. It's with improvise, so it means your artifacts can tap for 1 colorless to pay for this.
Ooh, an X spell with improvise? Gimme.
Yeah, seems good already. And what does it do? Well, reveal the top X cards of your library. You may put any number of artifact cards with converted mana cost X or less from among them onto the battlefield. Then put all cards revealed this way that weren't put into your battlefield into your graveyard. So, very good.
Yep.
Very, very good. Every little artifact token you have out there is going to be tapping for mana for this thing. You're going to spit a bunch of artifacts out. That's just going to give you more artifact synergy. Like this card goes into every single artifact deck that has red in it, right?
I think so, because I mean, oh boy, I just love effects like this. Just the fact that you got to improvise on it.
It's so good. This goes directly into You've got a Brea deck that cared about graveyards. Great. You've got the Duretti deck that cares about sacrificing things and going in graveyards. Like,
honestly,
perfect.
The hardest part is figuring out what to cut from all these decks, because these decks got so many upgrades.
Yeah.
It's like, I need to make a lot of cuts now.
It truly is. It really is going to be hard to figure that out. But yeah, this is a fantastic card for any artifact deck. And this is something that's, I mean, this is like the Genesis wave. But for artifacts, right?
Yeah, it's a epic experiment, but not for spells.
Right?
Like,
Yeah.
We need one for enchantments now.
That's true. We do. Yeah. Saheeli's Directive, great card.
Yeah. Next up is Treasure Nabber. This is a very exciting one. 2 and a red for a Goblin Rogue. It's 3/2. Whenever an opponent taps an artifact for mana, gain control of that artifact until the end of your next turn. So it doesn't prevent your opponents from doing anything. Let's say my opponent has a Gilded Lotus. They tap it, they get the 3 mana, and it immediately comes onto my board until the end of my next turn. So the turn's going to go around. They're going to spend the mana that they used, and then it's going to come to me, and it's going to untap on my turn, and I'm going to also use a bunch of mana for it. And then at the end of my turn, it's going to go back to them. So I can play this mean or I can play this nice. If I play it nice, I give everything back that I borrowed. If I play it mean, I sacrifice everything that I borrow, and then you don't get anything. But what a great, like... And then the unspoken thing that I think is especially interesting. The card's not technically out yet. I haven't seen it in play, obviously. But imagine where it's like, the player to my left has used a mana rock, so now it's on my battlefield. And the next player is like, do I use my mana rock too this turn? I was going to use my mana rock this turn, but I don't want to give Sean double mana rocks for his turn. And then the third player is like, well, you guys both used your things. I'm not going to take a turn off just because you guys gave all your mana rocks. I'm going to use my mana rocks too. And now all of a sudden you got 3 Sol Rings, a bunch of Commander Spheres, and you're just like, cool, what shall I do today?
Right? Like, it can get wild. I have a feeling that it just kind of turns off mana rocks.
Like they just won't use them?
I mean, I want to say that, but then like seeing anyone play a tempt card, where you would assume that everyone would just say no to it.
It never works.
It never works. Someone always says yes. Someone wants to get that value. So yeah, I feel like,
tempts are different.
They are.
Because that changes your board.
Yeah.
If I agree to attempt, I change my board. I don't... Like, that's already my mana rock's already my mana rock. It doesn't change anything if I use it. It just gives you an extra bump.
Let me amend this. What I think is going to happen actually is that people are just going to be like, oh, I still get it back. Like, it doesn't die or anything. Like, they're like, no, you just get it right back at the end of my turn. It's like, oh, well then okay. And then they'll just use it until they realize how valuable it is to the person who has Treasure Nabber and how you're just ramping them like crazy when you do that. I think you're going to see that play out a bunch first, and then people are going to be like, no, I know now. Treasure Nabber dies before I tap my artifact mana.
Yeah, there's no way if there's a Duretti on the battlefield with a Treasure Nabber, I'm not tapping my artifacts.
Yes,
I'm not giving Duretti those.
And I think that means that the card is actually kind of worse in that deck than it would be in a normal deck, right?
Unless
if you know that you're
active.
If you know the plan is to sacrifice it, and that's what you are going to want to do with Treasure Nabber, I actually think it loses a ton of value with that. But if you just take the things and then just always give them back, then you're more likely to get the mana that way, which is what you want, I think.
Well, unless its purpose is to prevent people from ramping with artifacts, right?
Yes.
Like if the value for you is like you don't get to use your Sol Ring now because if you do, it's gone. It's like great,
right?
I'm happy if you're not using those.
Right. Things. Which I think, you're gonna. It's a little from column A, a little from column B. You get ramp if you do, but if you don't, you're at least turning off other people's mana, which is good.
It's a very
Which
exciting
is why Treasure
card.
Nabber is awesome. Great design.
One of the highest pre-sale prices so far.
Yeah, and not all of these new cards have prices yet, so it's tough to say where things are going to land. But anyways, Treasure Nabber looks very, very cool. Definitely one of the more exciting cards from the new set. Next, we have a legendary. So this one is also technically a commander that you can use here, but it's not one of the like 3 marquee commanders from the set, so we wanted to separate it here a bit. But this one is still cool. Varchild, Betrayer of Keldor. 2 and a red for a legendary human knight. It's a 3/3, and whenever Varchild deals combat damage to a player, that player creates that many 1/1 red survivor creature tokens. So that player, the person that you hit. Survivors your opponents control can't block, and they can't attack you or a planeswalker you control. And then also, when Varchild leaves the battlefield, gain control of all survivors.
Cool.
Okay.
I mean, it's tricky because Varchild has to do combat damage, and you're not going to get that opportunity too many times, especially if you've outfitted Varchild with tons of equipment, which is what we would want to do.
Exactly, yeah. So this is a classic example of a Voltron Voltron commander, so like a commander that leans towards wanting to be suited up with artifact equipment or auras. Or something of that nature, but then because you're doing that, if you're hitting a player with this Voltroned up commander, you're that's probably how you're going to win, or how you would want to win. So the fact that like you make all these tokens and then like, you know, you gain control of them when it dies, like does that, how, like that doesn't really work with the you know, the lane that you put Varchild in when you suit them up, right? So it's interesting. There are some ways to straddle that line. Actually, we've done some episodes where we've managed to make that happen and make it make a ton of sense. I remember there was one, what was it? There was like a cat deck or something we did. Anyways, with equipment and stuff where it worked out really well that way. But you're going to need to find that like in between. Like if you're not going to try and win with the Voltron stuff, and you're going to try and lean more in the tokens, then you need to put a lot of cards in there, which makes it a little harder for Varchild to get through, and then vice versa. So
I would be interested in looking into all of those effects that are in red, obviously, that punish a player when creatures enter the battlefield on their side.
Yeah.
I don't know what those are. I've not done that exploration, but that might be a fun angle.
So Perforos, if I'm correct, it's just your creatures, right?
Just yours, yeah. I'm talking about like it's an enchantment that whenever any creature enters on anyone's team, they take damage or something. So then you give them all these creatures, and then they eat it big time.
Yeah, they eat it big time. Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's the raptor, right, from Ixalan that does that.
Yeah.
And there are definitely some other ones. So I think like that's an interesting deck. But again, you've got to make sure Varchild's getting through. So you definitely have to, you know, dedicate a pretty decent portion of your deck to protecting Varchild, making sure that it can get through, you know, and then, yeah, I don't know.
And if Varchild's your commander, people aren't just going to let you take a hit if Varchild is close to like 11 or 12 power, because it's like, well, that's your commander. I'm not going to take that commander damage.
Yeah.
I might consider it if it was just in the 99, but no, I'm not going to let you hit me with your Voltron commander even once.
Although this is a very interesting way to like, let's say you have that deck, like that's the one you've brewed, is to like, whenever they get a creature, they get hit.
Yeah.
It's very interesting to hit the player with parallel lives or doubling season out with like a 6/6 or 7/7 Varchild or something, you know, like that's, that becomes really fun. But anyways, I again, like cool commander, like neat way of like a new way of introducing like a token based build, but the tokens aren't for you necessarily.
Not for you.
And just survive. So here's one thing I do have. Does Varchild grant the survivors these abilities? Like when Varchild goes away, can survivors block?
Oh.
Like I feel like they can.
Well, it only says so that's a good question. I don't know.
Because otherwise they're just 1/1 red survivor creature tokens with no text. And when Varchild comes out and is on the battlefield, Varchild says that these abilities are in play. But when Varchild's not there, I feel like they're just regular 1/1s. And that's the benefit of getting them.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's right. Yeah.
I think that's right, because the phrase survivors your opponent's control can't block only exists on Varchild. So when Varchild's gone, that phrase is no longer on the battlefield, so they can block.
And also, let's say, even for argument's sake, even if that isn't true, it does only say survivors your opponent's control can't block.
Yeah.
So once you control them, they can. All right.
Also, when you cast Varchild again.
So even when you have Varchild. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Well, very neat. So yeah, I think it's like a tough deck to build, but that is a challenge I'm willing to take, and I love decks that look like they're tough to build.
Yeah.
All right. What's next?
Next, we got a Vedalken Humiliator. This is the last of the originally created cards from this deck.
This guy just pranks people all the time.
Yeah, he pranks people. He just picks on your insecurities.
He just pulls their pants down in front of the whole school.
Your underwear is juvenile.
You are a mere child.
You're a grown man but wearing child's underwear.
Your peers will laugh at you. And who will stop me? You? That's the actual flavor text. Anyways, yeah.
Your underwear has tacos on it. Har, 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 har.
Har, har, har. Mock him.
Tacos are for eating, not for underwear.
Vedalken Humiliator is a jerk. No question about it.
Vedalken Jerk, 3 and a blue. for a 3/4 wizard. That's a good rate for a blue creature. A 3/4 for 4.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
Not bad.
And it has Metalcraft, so as long as you have 3 or more artifacts, this kicks in. Whenever Vidalcan Humiliator attacks, if you have Metalcraft, creatures your opponents control lose all abilities and have base power and toughness 1/1 until end of turn. Yikes. Lose all abilities and all become 1/1s? So this isn't affected. So if they're wearing equipment, the equipment still buffs them. If they have +1/+1 counters, the counters still buff them. If there's like anthems that say all creatures get +1/+1, that still works too. It's just as if the little numbers in the corner read 1/1. But for the most part, that will leave creatures very vulnerable to one of those like do 1 damage to all the creatures kind of effects.
Oh, yeah. Losing all abilities also quite relevant.
Yeah, they're no longer indestructible. They no longer have persist or
flying,
whatever.
anything like that's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. The Humiliator certainly will humiliate a full board of creatures.
Yeah. I guess people are very embarrassed to have taco underwear.
You do need to have that Metalcraft, though, so you're going to want to put this in an artifact deck.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, like that it is tied so heavily to that, but yeah, I don't know. Seems like a decent enough ability. When you're wanting to swing through with a bunch of creatures, even they can chump block, but you get rid of their much better creatures that way. So
yeah,
cool. Humiliator.
I like him.
Humiliation. All right. Well, let's. Those are the new cards. Overall, I think pretty good.
Some cool new cards.
Yeah.
I am at least slightly interested in all of them.
Yeah, I agree, and I think, like I said, the 3 marquee commanders from the set, I think they hit it out of the park. I think they're great designs, a lot of space. The inspired, like there's multiple different decks. It looks like you can build with each of them, which I love. And even Varchild there is a pretty exciting, a mono red commander, but one that is like definitely like a different space to play around with mono red.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. Very, very pleased, I would say, actually.
And in the reprint department, there's a couple of reprints we're excited to get as well. The first one is Duplicant. It's a 6-mana artifact shapeshifter, which is a 2/4. However, when it enters the battlefield, you're going to imprint it by exiling target non-token creature. This is often run as just exile any creature in colors that have a hard time doing that. But in addition to exiling that creature, as long as a card exiled with Duplicant is a creature, Duplicant has the power, toughness, and creature types of the last creature exiled with Duplicant. It is still a shapeshifter. Yeah.
Yeah, this card, I mean, this is a pretty much a maybe not staple, but it's this is a pretty ubiquitous commander card. You're going to see this in any deck that wants it. I think it is good enough that 6-mana exile a target non-token creature is just that's just an ability you want, let alone the occasional buff you get off of exiling something that was huge. Or
agreed.
The creature type thing I've never seen be relevant with Duplicant. But maybe that's also because I always definitely forget that it has that text on it.
Right.
I didn't even really know that until you just read it. So maybe that's the thing. But I think Duplicant's great. I love to see it reprinted because back before like the Iconic Masters reprint, or the Eternal Masters, I should say, this was like a between like $7 to $10 to maybe even more dollar card.
Yeah, it was getting very expensive.
Yeah, and then some reprints happened. The Eternal Masters reprint happened, and now this one. So we're going to get... This is right down. Like, right now, this one apparently is up for less than $1.
I find that hard to believe.
That's what it says.
I mean, that's
but
what
we
it
don't
says,
know
but
what...
we don't have accurate info yet.
Exactly. We don't have that accurate info yet. So hopefully this... But I would expect it to hover around $1 or so for the first... while people are opening the new set, for the first few months. And then it'll probably get right back up to around $2 to $3.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, but it's a great card, and any deck can use it. So, I mean, that's why.
Yeah.
That's why it's so much. And next, this is a reprint that is really exciting for artifact decks specifically, of course. It's not here. Oh, there it is. Unwinding Clock. 4 mana for the artifact that says untap all artifacts you control during each other player's untap step. So it's like that text from...
Oh, yes. Prophet
of
Crufix.
Crufix. Thank you.
We've already forgotten.
I know, it's been so long. But it's a very, very powerful ability. Anytime you're untapping artifacts, that's a recipe for shenanigans. Luckily, this only does it during other players' untap steps, which is also very, very, very good.
Yeah.
So yeah, this card was getting up there around $7-8, so now it's down. It'll come back down again and be available for people, of course, who purchased this precon. You might expect us now to read a few other notable reprints, but we won't. And the reason we won't is because there are no other ones. And
yeah, every other card in there is like, if you can't get it for a gumball, your store is ripping you off.
Yeah, like like I said, Kurkesh Onaki Ancient looked like a card that you would 100% include in this deck.
Yeah.
Not because it's particularly expensive or anything. I mean, this card is about 25 cents. It's from Magic 2015. But how much work? Okay, so anyways, look, I have a big problem with the reprints in this set. And again, it's not tied to money. This card isn't expensive. You can go get this card at your LGS. You can pick it up for a gumball. But like, how much work are you making players do, especially newer players who pick up these things and go, yeah, great. I've heard in the past that I can buy one of these and pretty much enter my, medium powered play group and still have a good time. But I just don't think that's going to be the case here because they haven't included stuff like Kurkesh Onaki Ancient or other very obvious reprints that don't mess up anything economy wise. So I just am very baffled as to why the power level on these decks, specifically from the reprints, are so low, because they very much are low.
Yeah.
I think the Saheeli deck might be the one that can, that is still decent enough, because these original cards that we just went through are so good that I think you're gonna I think that deck is still decently powerful, but I think some of the other ones really, really struggle and have trouble, are going to have trouble from not having some really key reprints that would have been so easy. I don't know. I think they very badly missed the mark here with reprints.
And even still, like, if you look deeper at all the decks, we're not going to go card by card of all these decks too, but like a surprising amount of them don't have Swiftfoot boots or things like, these other staple things that are usually in every deck. And I get you can't reprint those for infinity, but like, how about Lightning Greaves? I've been saying that for years.
Yeah, we got a brief print of Greaves like 2 years ago, I think, and it was great.
In 1 out of 4 decks.
Yeah, right. But even then, it's like, we'll take it, right? We'll that's fine.
We will take it, yes.
Maybe include them in all of them, sure. But like, whatever, that's fine. You can't. But some of the reprints, and it's like less so with this deck. So I mean, unfortunately, you're probably going to hear me complaining 3 more times. But I'll promise I'll do it less in the other ones. The lands one is the one that really is going to trigger me big time. But this one I still think is a decent enough deck. And looking at it, I would still be interested in just picking this deck up and playing it right out of the box.
Yeah.
You're definitely going to make upgrades,
a lot of
but yeah.
Cool moving parts, right?
Yes.
It has a lot of cool moving parts and it looks fun to play.
It does. It certainly does. And like we said, any of the commanders look really fun. I don't know if the other commanders are actually viable with what's put in the box. I think you're going to want to use Saheeli. I think Tonos and Brewed are awesome, but it feels like this is more of a Saheeli deck.
Yeah.
Straight out of the box, which makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, that's the way they do it. So no big deal. But overall, I will say this, love the original cards. And if you're looking to pick those up and don't mind the upped price on these decks, which, bad, like not enough good reprints, and they up the price, like that's 2 strikes, Wizards. Like, that's bad. We're very, like, I personally am also very positive about these decks, maybe even overly so whenever they happen, and this is the first time I've ever been like disappointed by any part of them.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah. Anyway,
I got nothing to add that you didn't already say.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, well then, there you go. That's Saheeli.
Yeah, thanks for sticking around and listening to us.
You can find all the other ones at our right here on our YouTube page. So we'll see you when you listen to those.
Big thanks to all our patrons who make these episodes possible.
Yeah, and if you want to check out more comedy videos, check out our Brews News playlist.
Make sure you follow us on Twitch TV to see when we play live.
If you want to chat with us, head over to Twitter. We're at Commanders Brew.
And please hit subscribe to ding the bell and find out when we got new stuff coming out.
See you next time.
Bye.